Hello everyone, and I'm Autobot Sonic the Telltale Gamer, bringing listener in Telltale Games, Transformers, and more. Welcome back to another review on Transformers EarthSpark. This time we're going to be looking at Season 1, Episode 4, House Rules. So, this is our first, I'd say our first true filler episode, and I gotta say, with this episode, I definitely think it's on the same level as Moving In the fact that it doesn't, like, it's not a bad episode, but it just sort of, like, keeps, like, the status quo and just tells, like, a little fun story, but also actually gives some good character growth, specifically to Thrash. While Mo and Thrash are the main characters of this episode, I really feel like this is Thrash's episode to shine, but it's not without its own faults, so we're gonna go ahead and see everything this episode did right and what it did wrong. So, Episode 4, House Rules, actually starts with this really cute game of, like, Capture the Flag, where Robbie and Twitch are on one team, and then Mo and Thrash are on the other team, and they're both playing Capture the Flag with their own little bases made out of, like, hay bales, trying to get the flag from the other person. So, Robbie and Twitch are Team Autobots, while Mo and Thrash are Team Decepticons, which is very fitting considering the plot of this episode. And while Robbie and Twitch aren't really, like, big characters in this episode, it is cute to see, like, ways that they're sort of turning, like, their training time into these games. So we have Robbie and Twitch working together to try and get the Mo and Thrash's flag while they do the same. Some highlights include one part where Mo's trying to run for the Autobot flag, but then Twitch boxes her in by stacking a bunch of hay bales all around her. Meanwhile, Robbie's trying to get the Decepticon flag, but then Thrash transforms into his motorcycle mode and basically just scoops him up into his sidecar and dumps him out on the other side of the field. And then, but anyway, essentially though, it gets to a point where Thrash, or Twitch ends up trying to go for Thrash and Mo's flag, but Thrash ends up taking it from her, and so they end up getting into a little scuffle, just rolling around all over the house, or just the homestead, until while Dot and Alex are just inside cooking breakfast and all that, when all of a sudden Thrash and Twitch just come crashing in through the window, fighting in the kitchen, and then that's when Dot yells at them to stop and calls in, like, a family meeting about that, and that just is the cold open of this episode. After the cold open, we cut back to Robbie, Mo, Twitch, and Thrash all outside the house with just some little minor repairs done to the wall outside of the Malto house, where Dot explains the house rules, hence the name of this episode, to everyone, to Twitch and Thrash alongside Alex. And while some of them are just the standard ones, Alex decides to introduce a new house rule that basically prevents Twitch and Thrash from going inside the house to avoid them causing any more damage to it, which Twitch seems to be alright with, but Thrash seems to have no interest in following this rule. And this sets up really what Thrash's character is, not only for this episode, and does set up his growth throughout the rest of this episode, but also, in my opinion, gives a good dive into what exactly Thrash's character is. And we'll get to see more of this throughout the episode, but for now it just seems maybe like Thrash is being immature, that he doesn't like to be tied down by rules and all that. But Dot tries to stress to him how important they are, because if, let's say, things got way out of hand, then Ghost would figure out that Twitch and Thrash exist, and therefore they'd be taken away from them like they were going to back in episodes 1 and 2 of this series. So, with that seemingly out of the way, Dot and Alex introduce the star chart to Twitch and Thrash, which is essentially like a chore board where essentially whoever does the most chores every day gets a gold star, and whoever has the most gold stars by the end of the day basically just gets a prize. And immediately Twitch's competitive nature comes into play here, where she bets on everyone else that she's going to get the most chores done that day so that she can get a prize from Dot and Alex. So she and Robbie go off to do chores, but really just Robbie are just slacking off while Twitch does all of his jobs for her. And that's sort of like the B plot of this episode, that randomly throughout this episode we'll cut back to Robbie and Twitch doing more chores. Eventually though, it does get funny, because by the end of it, like, there's one point where Robbie's struggling to pick up weeds, and so Twitch offers to take Robbie's job for him so that she can get the golden stars for it, and Robbie's cool with it, and she's like, oh, why aren't you so concerned about getting stars? And Robbie's like, oh, well, they're not, the prizes are kind of lame anyway. But then Twitch tells Robbie that if whoever wins will get Alex to decide, what is made for dinner for the next week, and that just sort of kicks Robbie back into doing chores. So throughout the B plot, it's just Robbie and Twitch constantly just doing chores and like a competition to try and figure out who can get the most chores done by the end of the day. But we'll come back to that later on. But I just want to focus most of this review about Mo and Thrash, so I just wanted to get that out of the way. So after Dot and Alex lay down the house rules for Twitch and Thrash, we see Mo and Thrash hanging out outside the house in a little tent that Mo has set up to resemble her own room. And while Mo seems to be okay with that, Thrash just doesn't enjoy just being outside, let alone being told by Dot and Alex what to do. So he argues that they should just sneak back in anyway, which Mo at first doesn't seem to really be into, which makes sense given that she said that she had no problem with following the rules like Robbie and Twitch did. But then eventually gets to a point where Thrash says to Mo that technically Dot said that no bots were allowed inside the house. So if he transforms into his motorcycle mode, then it shouldn't be a problem for them to go inside. And oddly enough, this is where the first con comes in, and it seems as though Mo's just totally okay with this. It's not even like she goes to Thrash and she's like, oh, I don't know, Thrash, I don't know if this is a good idea, then Thrash just sort of goads her into doing it. No, Mo just kind of goes along with it, like, without any hesitation whatsoever. And to me, as someone who's heard from, like, interviews with the cast and crew of EarthSpark that Mo is supposed to be the voice of reason in the Multiple Family, seeing her so easily swayed by Thrash just doesn't sit well with me. And unfortunately, this happens again in just a few moments. So Mo manages to sneak Thrash up in his motorcycle mode back into the house, into her room, but they decide they're just going to go ahead and watch wrestling to do nothing destructive. However, after they're watching enough wrestling, they eventually get the idea to start doing wrestling moves themselves and end up going crashing out of her bedroom window back into the homestead outside the house. And of course, Dot and Alex see this, and therefore Dot and Alex get grounded because of it. Or not Dot and Alex, Mo and Thrash get grounded as a result, which Thrash just is even more annoyed by. And that sort of just leads to them being stuck outside now with nothing to do, and just Thrash becomes even more frustrated in the process. Meanwhile, while Mo and Thrash are grounded, we actually cut back to a ghost transport that is going through Wiki, carrying some expensive cargo that we don't know exactly what it is. On the process, though, this ghost agent ends up getting captured by Swindle, and or not so much captured, but in the sense that Swindle is seen T-boning her truck and knocking it over to the point that he's prepared to go ahead and steal whatever it is, thinking apparently it might be Hardtop inside there, because as you know, if you remember from the end of episode 2, Hardtop was last seen being arrested and taken into ghost custody by Optimus, Alita, and Megatron. So Swindle goes in thinking that it's Hardtop, but it ends up being an Energon scanner that he could use to supposedly to find Hardtop. However, when Swindle tries to get into it, he can't get through the force field, which makes it so that any Cybertronians and Terrans can't interact with it. So he decides to go ahead and try to figure out a way where he can convince a human to do it. And now, fun fact about this ghost agent, I'm just going to mention this now because even though it doesn't really brought up in this episode, in the credits, most ghost agents are actually just credited as Ghost Agent 1, Ghost Agent 2, and so on. However, in the credits for this episode, even though her name is never stated in the episode, she's credited as Agent Rala, which makes me believe that she's going to be a main character, perhaps maybe in future episodes alongside some other ghost agents we'll see later on in this season. So just in case Agent Rala ends up becoming a major character, I'm just going to talk about her now. She's actually voiced by Krisia Bajos, who is another Telltale alumni. You may recognize her as the voice of Gabby in The Walking Dead Michonne, Renee Montoya in Batman and Telltale series Season 1 before she was replaced by Sumili Montano in The Enemy Within. And outside of Telltale, she's actually the voice of Rivas in Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War and Warzone 1. So instantly, when I heard her voice in EarthSpark, Agent Rala's voice, I immediately knew that was Krisia Bajos because it sounded exactly like Montoya did in Batman Season 1 and Gabby in The Walking Dead Michonne. So hopefully, considering that Agent Rala is a named character, it makes me hope that she'll play a major role in later parts of Season 1, even though this is the only time we see her this whole season so far. So after Swindle attacks Agent Rala's transport trying to get the Energon scanner, she actually contacts Dot, telling her about the Decepticon attack. So Dot goes out to investigate, leaving Mo and Thrash alone with Twitch and Robbie, while Alex, I think, is out at school or something like that. So it's at this point where Thrash once again tries to convince Mo to go out and ignore the grounding, saying that, oh, that she never said where they need to be grounded. And Mo, for her credit, Mo does basically say, oh, well, it's kind of assumed that when you're grounded, you stay home. But Thrash just tries like that. He doesn't want to be pinned down by these rules, and that seems to just be enough for Mo again, unfortunately, that she just willingly goes along there. When Thrash just says that he's just gonna go into the wiki, she just goes along with it like, okay, what's the worst that could happen? So that just doesn't really sit well with me, the fact that Mo seems to be so like, just nonchalant about disobeying Dot. Thrash, I can understand doing that, but the fact that Mo, the voice of reason, is so easily swayed by Thrash, that bothers me, and I don't really like that. So while Mo and Thrash go out to sneak out just to have fun with Wiki, they end up actually running into the crash truck that Swindle caused with Agent Rala, and Dot is already there investigating, I think actually alongside Alita, but she has no speaking role in this episode. This is really the only time she shows up, so I'm not really counting this as a real appearance by Alita. So in the process here, Swindle tries to think about how he's going to get the Energon scanner when he does notice Thrash and Mo watching the whole event go down, and so seeing Mo, he thinks he can use Mo and Thrash to sort of get to the Energon scanner. So he makes a distraction to try and lure Mo and Thrash out by causing a dumpster fire that distracts Dot, Agent Rala, and the rest of the Ghost agents. So therefore, Swindle convinces Mo and Thrash to go escape with them before Ghost realizes that they're there. And Mo and Thrash, not knowing who Swindle is, just go along with him as well. So basically, it's at this point that Swindle basically explains to Mo and Thrash that he's this hotshot Decepticon who's just on the run from Ghost because they're just hunting him and his brother down, and he wants to go and just have some like fun, which Thrash immediately takes a shining to, considering that he doesn't want to live with anyone who doesn't have these overbearing rules on them. So while Mo is a little bit hesitant about this, she does actually just go along with Thrash in just a bunch of hijinks with Swindle. They go racing through the mountains. They end up making a Decepticon-shaped crop circle in a cornfield, and this just, it's just like harmless fun. I gotta say, Nolan North does a great job as Swindle in this episode, really channeling like just an inner scumbag here. That Swindle's just this really suave, charming, schemer that just knows exactly what needs to be said to get everyone on his side. So after just a whole day spent of hanging out with Swindle, Swindle basically tries to put on like an act saying how much he misses Hardtop and that he was taken by Ghost, and tries to convince Mo and Thrash to help him out. And of course, since being how gullible Mo and Thrash are, they decide to go ahead and trust him and take him back to the Malta homestead in hopes that they can get Dot and Alex, B, and the rest of the gang to help him out. However, this is where things go wrong, but also is arguably, I think, the best part of the episode in my opinion. So Mo and Thrash return back home with Swindle when Dot and Alex get back as well. However, Bumblebee immediately sees Swindle and knows who he is, as they've had history together, which Swindle says that they fought each other during a supposed Battle of the Bay back during the Transformer War. So there's this big fight throughout the whole Malto homestead of Bumblebee versus Swindle, but at the whole time, Mo and Thrash are trying to get B to stop him from fighting Swindle because he's apparently their friend. However, in the process, B ends up throwing Swindle into the same window that he had just helped Alex repair, that Twitch and Thrash crashed into at the beginning of this episode. In the process, though, Swindle tries to play it off as he truly is a good guy, and that B's just beat him up for no reason, so he ends up running away, pretending to be upset and all that. And it's at this point B and Dot chastise Mo and Thrash for bringing Swindle home, who's a known Decepticon. And this is arguably where I think we get the best performance in the whole episode, and that comes in the form of Zeno Robinson as Thrash. I'd argue to say this is arguably Zeno Robinson's best performance as Thrash in all 10 of these episodes so far, where literally he blows up on B and Dot, basically explaining how he doesn't want to live by their rules, says that it's not fair that they just assumed Swindle's evil because he's a Decepticon, and so Dot tries to argue saying that anyone who's a Decepticon is evil, but then Mo actually is the one who tries to advocate for Swindle, saying that not all Decepticons are evil, when she holds up a picture of Dot and Megatron together, which is really cute that the frame says live, laugh, love on it. I really like the frame that Mo holds up of Megatron and Dot together, but Dot tries to justify herself, saying that Megatron chose to become an Autobot after the war, and that it takes, Decepticons actually need to want to change in order to become good. But then, just like that, Thrash throws it right back at Dot, saying that she didn't give Swindle the chance to prove that he wants to change, which, given Swindle is conning Mo and Thrash, but Mo and Thrash don't know that. So, in all intents and purposes, Thrash is in the right here, even though we as the audience know he's not, but Thrash's argument is right. So Thrash just blows up on them all, and he doesn't want to do it, so he goes to go pout in the little tent that Mo made for him back at the beginning of this episode, and Mo goes to go and console him while Robbie, Twitch, Dot, and Alex go to repair the rest of the house. And it's at this point where Mo talks to Thrash about how he's feeling both angry, sad, and hurt. And basically, Thrash sort of like resonates with Swindle, saying that he doesn't want to have Swindle lose his brother, just like because he couldn't live with himself if Mo, Robbie, or Twitch ever got hurt as well. And I gotta say, again, I absolutely love Zeno Robinson's performance as Thrash in this scene, where he basically justifies that they should just ignore Dot's rule grounding and just go out to help Swindle find Hardtop. However, it's at this point that Mo finally caves in and says, oh, we shouldn't do this, we'll be grounded for life if we do this. But then, literally, Thrash says, like, the hardest line in his whole episode, saying literally that he'd break every rule in the universe just to know that Mo is okay. And I absolutely love that line. That and the line where he says right after that, where he says he doesn't want to live with a family that hates people just by how they look. Honestly, I know he's just talking about this being like that all Decepticons are evil, but like the racial undertones that are in this episode is just so powerful, and really is arguably one of the strongest points of this episode. Like, if it wasn't for Mo acting the way she does in this episode, I'd probably give this episode a 10 out of 10, but it's just Mo's not being so nonchalant about breaking the rules in the beginning. That really pulls it down for me. But other than that, this episode's great. Like, literally, just listen to Zeno Robinson's performance a bit as Thrash in these scenes, and it's just so good.
Megatron has truly changed.
Which you learned when you gave him a chance. Well, I deserve a chance too. One without a bunch of rules that stop me from being me. Swindle needs our help to find his brother. It's the right thing to do.
Thrash, we'd be grounded for life.
If you were missing, I'd break every rule in the world to get you back. I can't stay with a family that won't help someone just because they don't like how they look.
So with enough encouragement from Thrash, Mo does agree to go head out into the junkyard to find Swindle, and where he told them before they came back to the Malto homestead that that's where Hardtop was being held. So Mo and Thrash sneak out that night to go meet up with Swindle outside the junkyard, and Swindle gives Mo like some sort of like bolt cutters to try and break through the chain link fence of the scrapyard where the ghost truck is being held. However, it's at this point Mo sort of refuses to just break into a sign that says no trespassing. So Swindle, being irritated with them, just rips off the whole front gate himself, but Mo orders Swindle to put it back once they're done. So it's at this point where the cracks start to fall on Swindle's like little scheme here, where eventually Mo and Thrash open up the truck where they believe Hardtop is, but when they find out it's a Energon scanner, the jig's up, and Mo realizes that Swindle has been playing them the whole time. Then Swindle ends up holding Thrash at gunpoint, threatening to kill him if Mo doesn't go into the truck and retrieve the Energon scanners, because since she's a human, she'll be able to pass through the Energon force field unfazed at all. So she walks through it to get the Energon scanner for Swindle. However, as she's going to take it out, we see Swindle's actually going to betray her and ends up shooting her, but then that's when Thrash gets in and fights off Swindle a little bit to try and save Mo. And now clearly Thrash is in over his head here. He stands no chance against Swindle, and I really like that because it reminds me a lot about Transformers Animated, where really in Animated all the main villains, all the recurring villains that the Autobots fought were just super villains like humans. But when a real Decepticon came, whether it be big or small, like someone like Starscream or Swindle, whenever a Decepticon came on, you knew it was going to be a really hard fight for those Autobots because they were like all newbies. So the fact that there's Swindle, basically this 2-bit Decepticon goon that Optimus and Alita we saw got taken down by them in like a minute. The fact that Thrash struggles so much with Swindle, I love that power scaling, that even the smallest Decepticon like Swindle proves to be such a big threat for Thrash and Mo. So it's at this point that Thrash tries to fight off Swindle, but he ends up punching Thrash hard enough to knock off like his little sidecar, which he's as a shield, and sends him flying into like a bunch of trash piled cars. And I gotta say, like, you can really feel the weight of the fight in this episode. Yeah, like Swindle's just throwing Thrash around like it's nothing. Granted, it's not like stuff like Transformers Prime, for example, where characters would clearly get like battle damage as the fight goes on. Thrash just still doesn't have a scratch on him, which I get that it's a kid's show still, but maybe like in later episodes this season when the danger gets a lot more serious, we'll actually start to see more battle damage as the fights go on. But just in this case, there's none, but that's okay. So as Thrash is all stunned from being thrown into the cars, Swindle goes up to him, prepare to shoot and kill him, and that's when Mo runs up with Thrash's sidecar, which was knocked off him earlier, and uses her cyber sleeve to transform it into a shield to block Swindle's blaster fire. And it's at this point, though, that Thrash takes the shield from her, trying to use it to fight off Swindle, but again, he's just literally no match for Swindle. Swindle just grabs him, throws him back on the ground, actually curb stomps him, nearly crushing him to death in the process before he ends up going after Mo instead. So you get kind of this cool like horror sequence where Swindle is chasing Mo through the junkyard, throwing a bunch of cars out of the way to get to her, and finally, when it looks like he's got her cornered, getting ready to grab her, Dot just comes in with her own car in the junkyard and runs over Swindle, managing to stun him enough so that he stops chasing Mo. And then Dot comes in with Bumblebee and Alex as well, and they chase off Swindle. And so after that, Mo, Dot, and Alex and B all head over to Thrash to check on him, make sure he's okay. And that's when Thrash apologizes to Dot, basically saying that he's sorry for disobeying the rules, and that he understands that sometimes rules need to be in place to just protect everyone. And I think, again, this is great character development for Thrash, that even though he is like a rebel, he doesn't want to live by any rules, we still see now that he does have a respect for them to some degree, and realizes that sometimes you gotta follow some rules to make sure the people you love and care about stay safe. And that's just great character development for Thrash, in my opinion. And it's easily Thrash's best episode in this entire season so far. Easily a great part for them. And that's sort of where the episode ends, with Dot and Alex taking Robbie and Mo back, and where they see that they've rebuilt, and not only to have Robbie and Twitch tied in all their chores so no one gets surprised, Alex alongside Bumblebee fixed the window again where Twitch and Thrash are crashing to begin this episode, and then Bumblebee threw Swindle into by the end. And now they've basically done it so that the windows can be flipped up so that Twitch and Thrash can hang out with Robbie and Mo too when there was like something going on inside. And that basically sort of just wraps up like the whole no bots in the house rule, and just eliminates that problem for the remainder of the season, which I think is a good ending to it. And so that was my review of Transformers EarthSpark Season 1, Episode 4, House Rules. If I had to rate this episode, I'd probably give it an 8.5 out of 10. Easily, definitely on the same level as Moving In, but I did like this one more than Moving In. Absolutely Thrash's best episode. Zeno Robinson and Xeon Broadnax do fantastic jobs as Thrash and Mo. Even Nolan North is a great job as Swindle, which unfortunately, just like I mentioned before with Alita 1 back in episode 3, this is unfortunately the last time we see Swindle in these 10 episodes. He doesn't show up again, though I'm sure he may pop up again in the future, probably to rescue Hardtop or something. So hopefully, I'm looking forward to seeing more of him and Nolan North in the future. But though, this was a great episode. I absolutely loved Thrash and Mo in it. I love the fight between Mo and Thrash and Swindle. Again, the only con I had with it, though, was just that Mo was just way too nonchalant about disobeying Dot with Thrash for the first 10 to 12 minutes of this episode. But other than that, though, this was a great episode. So that's going to be it for this review. I'll be back soon with Episode 5, Classified. If you like this review, you should like, comment, and of course subscribe, and I will see you guys later.